responding to the need for democratizing water governance, meaning the Mekong River that flows through 6 countries actually is a political powerhouse, if you like. And it has created a lot of political tensions. In the Mekong region, the key challenge is really how to manage transboundary water systems like the Mekong River. And building dams has been one response of the governments, but again, it is debatable whether it is a sustainable response and whether it does address or redress inequities in terms of livelihoods, those who will be displaced by the construction of the dams, as well as those who are in the downstream areas who rely on water, let's say, for their livelihoods. Water levels will dramatically fluctuate, and this has serious implications on marginal fishers as well as farmers of the Mekong region.
Thank you very much. Okay, another question?
I just realized that from all our workshops from since yesterday until today is that there will be a lot of project, a lot of financing related to this issue, gender, climate change adaptation, and DRR. My question is how we could make sure that all this process could, how community could make decision with free prior informed consent, so they really understand what the advantage or not good for them from this project or from this activity.
I guess we'll respond to that. Do you want to respond? No. We'll work on, we will keep that in our mind when we discuss about the declaration later on. So one last presentation for Athena.
Good afternoon, I'm Athena Peralta and I work with the World Council of Churches program on poverty, wealth and ecology. And we collaborated with the Women, Environment and Development Organization in producing a draft case study on gender and financing for climate change mitigation and adaptation in the Philippines. I would like to apologize in advance if I sometimes have to somewhere in the middle of my presentation have to cough or have to blow my nose. I have a cold. So sorry for that. The purpose of the case study is to critically review the financing regime for climate change mitigation and adaptation in the Philippines from the perspective of the rural poor and women. It calls for the adoption of a holistic, pro-poor, and gender-sensitive framework in mobilizing funds for mitigation and adaptation. The primary objective of such a framework would be to ensure that the financial costs of mitigating and adapting to climate change risks are fairly distributed according to the polluter pays principle, as well as ability to pay across and within countries. I think I will skip this slide. And we also know that women will have, climate change will have more severe impacts on women. So I think we can also skip the next couple of slides in the interest of time. According to the most recent information, the Philippines accounted for 0.3% of global greenhouse gas emissions, which is an increase from its 1990 emissions share of 0.2%. Although its GHG emissions are on the uptrend, the country ranked 20th to the lowest among 36 countries in terms of emissions contribution. Unsustainable land use, agriculture, and forestry were responsible for 56% of the Philippines' total greenhouse gas emissions, while the energy sector contributed 46%. So in contrast to its relatively low GHG or greenhouse gas emissions, the Philippines has a high vulnerability to current and future risks associated with climate change. And this stems from at least 3 factors. its location and geography, its economic dependence on climate-sensitive agriculture and fisheries, agro-industry, and tourism, and its developing country status and worsening poverty problem that redound to a lack of capital, technology, and human resources to mitigate and adapt to climate change. The growing literature on climate change scenarios for the Philippines predicts adverse environmental, socio-economic consequences. We know all of this already, but I would just like to highlight the fact that agriculture and fishery is a sector that will be most keenly affected by climate change because it is closely linked to natural resources and weather conditions. And this has potentially dire outcomes in terms of undermining sources of sustenance, especially among already marginalized groups such as farmers, fisher folk, and women, as well as endangering